All right, good morning, everyone. Hey, it's time for another Tom and Shane podcast. And boy, we're excited today because branding and positioning is probably the most powerful tool in your arsenal. And we're going to talk about developing your small business position strategy today and how to do that. So we're excited
All
to
right.
get that underway. All
We were
right.
supposed to talk about we were supposed
You
to
didn't
talk
send
about
me
restaurants today.
you didn't send me anything on the
Yeah,
restaurant, so
yeah, I did on the 18th, right after the show last Thursday. I sent it to you.
didn't get it. So and I emailed you 3 times over the weekend and called you.
Well, I sent it to you on the 18th. So
Well,
what
if
can I
I'm
tell you?
asking you, you should have sent it again. So we're going to end this and start over. So, sorry,
Okay.
but we're talking about something else. And in the invite, I sent you everything you need to know about what we're going to talk about today. So, all right. So to begin with, positioning. Yes, positioning. Now that we've had our squabble out of the way, positioning is one of the most important things in your arsenal. We've talked about positioning a little bit before when we talked about the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean was Charles Lindbergh. You probably don't know the second person. That would be Bert Hinkler, and but you do know the third person, and that was Amelia Earhart. And was she the third person to fly across the Atlantic, or the first what? Well, first woman. So that's what positioning is. It puts you in a position away from your competitors where you can be all by yourself. And that's fine. But now today we want to talk about how to position yourself in your real market. So we need to find out who is your real market. If you were selling candy bars, there's a whole bunch of different target markets you could go after. You could go after snack foods. You could go after sugar. You could go after kids' treats. You could go after chocolate being a health bar or something like that. So when you look at your business, we've got to look at how many different markets can you do. So what do you think, Shane? How many different markets? We were talking about
Well, we
restaurants.
talked
How many different markets for restaurants?
we talked a lot about networking in the context of your business and getting to know other people for finding good employees or finding good people to help you, lawyers, accountants, and the same philosophy applies here. It's basically networking the eligible market and the captive audience you have. A captive audience doesn't have to be a restaurant in the basement of a hotel. A captive audience, as Thomas pointed out, can be people that are interested in health bars, that they can easily carry and get a fix on if they're, athletes running, jogging, or so forth. And it can be also utilized for people as a light lunch as opposed to something heavy for lunch, which most people don't really utilize today because of COVID. People are working at home, so they tend to snack really more than they do eat. But where the great opportunity for this arises is in developing a small business that's a brick and mortar business in a small town. And positioning yourself in that area has a lot to do with location. So you want to make sure you pick a location where you're near to residential areas that people can walk from, not necessarily drive. And you want to put it in an area where it's been newly developed, where there's new building, condos, new apartment buildings, and these are the type of things you want to sort of view as you're putting your business strategy together and your business plan and your marketing plan, because both of these play counterbalance to your marketing plan, your business plan, and that's positioning the success of your company predicated on your marketing and business plan.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the other thing we've got to talk about, Shane, is who are your real competitors? And if you were to say McDonald's, you would probably think Wendy's and Burger King are your would be your competitors. But what about Pizza Hut? What about Subway? What about bowling? People can spend money anywhere they want, and it's whether or not you can attract those folks and separate yourself away from those folks. So you need to think about who your real competitors are in whatever business you have. This is an important
That's
thing
right.
to
When you're
look at.
dealing with when you're determining the situation you have with competitors or competitive products, there's two things that are most important: price and availability. Availability on your part and having it in inventory. If you pick a business like shoes, it's a very large inventory because there's so many different types of people with so many different types of shoe sizes. But if you're picking silk scarves, then you don't really have even a size problem. You just can buy the silk scarves and sell them in your store. So product and availability are two of the most important things to consider when you have a brick and mortar local store, or even if you're online. Uh, don't be online and offer something someone can get cheaper somewhere else. Doesn't work very well.
Yeah. Unless you can show the value of yours over theirs. So, all right. The next thing we need to talk about is how do consumers evaluate their options, and this is the very most powerful thing that you need because a customer has a need, and that need needs to be filled. And if you're the person that can fill it, then you're going to get the business. So in your advertising and everything else, once you've identified those various people that are in your target market area, now you're in a position where in your advertising you can focus on uh, answering their need and get them into your store.
That's right. And of course, you're always dealing with two type of customers: those that want something, those that need. Needing is an emotional desire, but a lot of people have a serious problem with actually being consumers, over consumers, and going out and shopping constantly because it becomes not an addiction, but it just becomes a way of dealing with issues that you don't want to confront, which is why a lot of people eat more than they should because they're in denial about certain problems. So the customer that wants is always the best customer because they have less of a concern about where they get the product as much as the product they specifically want. So if you're the one they get to first and has the product they want, very often they will be willing to pay for it from you on site. In a brick and mortar issue where they're traveling, they're going to look online to your website before they come. Most people do nowadays because of the need to. And as oil gets more expensive, folks, boy, it's going to be tough being a brick and mortar store because getting people out not be easy if things can be delivered on time and within 24 hours at no cost.
That's true. Yeah, there's always advantages to find, and that's what we're talking about today. The other thing we need to talk about is how are your competitors perceived in the marketplace you're in? As Shane pointed out a while ago, your competitors might be low cost. I sold furniture for 8 years, and right next door to our furniture store was a low cost furniture store. So we had value and long lasting and durability and good brands versus cheap and whatever. So, the people that were on limited incomes or, didn't couldn't afford the stuff we were selling went there, and our customers went to us. If you look at something like Kraft, for example, Kraft has jams and jellies. Smucker's is number one. Kraft has mayonnaise. Hellman's is number one. But Kraft does have Philadelphia cream cheese, and that is 80% of the market. So when you look at positioning your products and things in based on your competitors, there are products and things that you can excel in to bring customers in, and then sell them your other things.
Well, and craft is a great metaphor for what we're talking about in the context of word recognition of the company itself. People tend to see craft on products like peanut butter, for example, and Philadelphia cream cheese, as Thomas said, that are market leaders. So people assume right away, oh, Kraft must be the best, mayonnaise or other products that they offer. One of the interesting aspects is that especially when you're trying to uh, determine about the marketplace with regards to competitors, and the example that Tom used about furniture store. Furniture is an interesting product, and the reason is you can buy furniture from very inexpensive places like that one from Norway, where you don't expect it to last a generation because it's toggle sticks and punch board. But if you want something like a dinner dining table that you'll give to your children, and will give to their children, and it could last 60, 70, 80 years, 3 4 generations, because it's made solid. It's made out of actual wood. And that's a way to rate yourself against a perception or the perception of a competitor, even if it's used furniture. If someone says that, look, I'm looking at a solid oak table over there, and it's quite cheap here. You look at them and say, hey, if it's solid oak, it's good for 20 more years. So take it if it's available. And so,
Absolutely.
being honest, and helping customers with their purchase, even if you don't sell, becomes a real opportunity for people to want to come back the next time they are looking for something to buy.
Yeah. Well, the next thing we got to look at is where are the gaps. For this one, the Sharper Image Catalog came out several years ago, and it was full of high end, really cool stuff. And they found a real niche in the market for people who wanted the unusual, the conversation pieces to talk about, things like that. So they were very successful in doing that. And so this is an opportunity for you to look at: are there gaps uh, in your markets, wherever your business is? Are there gaps not being filled that you can fill?
Absolutely, and the interesting aspect of what we're talking about, certainly in the 21st century, this applies, is technology and expendable income. People with a large amount of expendable income will always look at new technology. Drones are a perfect example when talking about this. When drones first came out, the price for these drones were anywhere from a small one at $60 to a very large one, which could be upwards of $1,000. As the availability of them became available to more people because the price collapsed and the Japanese or Chinese start building them cheaper. The small drone went from a few thousand in North America to over 1 million. So product cost is obviously important. Expendable income measures that product cost and its availability, but it's the person at the top. It's a great example is states being the laboratories for your national laws and the national government to look at. And this is the same thing. People with an overextended amount of irrational behavior because they have an unlimited amount of money to spend on something new ends up being able to create a larger market for that product and for you at a much lower price. So rich people, they help you out a lot.
Yeah, they do. All right. Hey, if you're just joining us and you've found some tips and things that are important to you, well, subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like us, and leave a comment. We would like to hear from you and see what's going on there. So, with you guys. And if you have anything you'd like for us to cover, by all means, we would be happy to do that. And also, if you like what we're doing here, we're doing it with StreamYard, and the link to StreamYard is in the description below. If you want to make podcasts like this one, by all means, check with StreamYard, and the link is in the description below. So, all right. Other things we've got to talk about is you've got to work your plan and plan your work. This is obvious in any business. I don't think I'm telling anybody they don't already know, But in this case, when we're talking about positioning, it's very important that you position your business in the right way to the right people. And this takes some planning. What are you going to put in your ads? What are you going to advertise? Who are you going to advertise it to? And all of that comes down to your target market and also the gaps that we've talked about. Is there a market out there that's not being served right now that you can take advantage of?
That's right.
Jane?
There you go. So it's interesting to follow stuff on the need to know basis. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, and after we've done all this, then the obvious thing is we've got to watch what happens. Because if we've done something wrong, then people are not going to come in. They're not going to buy from us. We've advertised the wrong thing. We've advertised in the wrong place. We've advertised to the wrong people. Something is wrong. So we need to be able to analyze what has happened. How did this all work? And reevaluate it and go back to the very beginning. Have we misidentified ourselves to the customer? Are we saying we're something we're not, or are our products mislabeled or misdefined? So there's a lot to look at here, but as you refine it, you'll find your business will improve.
Always a necessity. You want to always manage your property and your business in a way that it looks new. You move things around to a big, small degree. Make sure they're clean. Like in a clothing store, you're constantly refolding clothes and making them look nice, even though they've been handled by people. But the bottom line is keep sure you keep monitoring your business plan and your marketing plan, especially when these concerns arise. You should have an answer somewhere in your marketing and business plan for these kind of issues on an ongoing basis that you've expected and may have overlooked. We've talked about this a couple of weeks ago that you should review and upgrade your paperwork and your mind work and even your employees on a regular basis. Training is everything. Maintenance is even more important, and that'll help you mine that money as it comes through the door.
Absolutely, defining your business is the critical issue here. You can't present yourself to your customers unless you clearly are defined who you are. Think of it as sit down and give yourself a business resume. Just like it isn't something you hand to the customer, but you sit down and if you want a customer to hire you, then you have to have a resume that fits their needs and their wants and desires. So do that today. Sit down and write out your business resume. Who are you? What do you provide? Who do you provide it to? All of those things. Review your marketing plan. Review your cash flows and all of that. And anything that can be measured can be improved. So keep track of your numbers and all of those things because it is critical to your business to succeed. But if you position yourself correctly, you are going to rise to the top. No question about it.
That's right, and your the volume of your sales will rise, and the profit. With the rise in sales, one thing that grows the most is profitability, because it's always leverage that wins at the end of the day. He who sells the most makes the greatest profits.
That's for sure. Absolutely. So there's lots of tips and things over at tomandshane.com. Don't forget to check those things out because we've got a lot more information over there in maybe greater detail than we cover here. So be sure and check that out as well. So we've got a lot to do here. Coming up on our podcast on Thursday, we'll do the restaurant thing because Shane's going to resend me the stuff for it, right? You will.
Yeah, of course I will. I did already, and
Yeah.
you had enough information that we could have covered it anyway. With the email you sent me, you had those three different issues to talk about in the restaurant business, which are very interesting. Well, you'll find that there's a lot to do with the COVID relief package on the restaurant business, and healthcare and its approach to the restaurant business, and that monthly check that everyone's getting. We'll see how that has an impact on the restaurant business as well. So until then,
Yeah.
on Thursday, thank you so very much. Be happy, be
Well,
safe,
hang
live in the
on for.
moment, live to work, and we're so glad you joined us today. Thank you so much out there. You're a gaggle of a gang of people.
All right. Also, coming up on Friday, we're going to do a special podcast with author Steve Conover, who is the author of Neutering the National Debt. And we're going to talk a little bit about the national debt and how debt affects your business. So that's going to be coming up on Friday. And we'll announce that through Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up. So we will see everybody down the road. And thanks for watching. And we'll see you on Thursday.